Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Mindy here. I hope you had a fantastic week. This week was a wild ride for me. I had some ups, I had some downs, and I'm really looking forward to the weekend. I'm curious to hear, did you guys have a good week? Did you get a new job promotion? Did something exciting happen at work? Did you have a rough work week? Did you get your Holy Grail perfume in the mail? Did you go to your favorite restaurant again? Or are you back to traveling? Definitely want to hear from you guys and what's going on in your lives. Today I'm going to continue on with a 3 to 4 part series that I plan on doing for vanillas. Earlier this week I spoke about affordable vanillas that I have in my collection and that I love. Today I'm going to talk about very popular, very hyped up vanilla fragrances that I do not plan on adding to my collection. Either they didn't work out with my skin, or I'm not crazy about the scent, or for whatever reason they're redundant to something I have in my collection already. I'll be talking through each one of these and giving you my thoughts and opinions. And to be totally honest with you guys, these are hard videos for me to film. I love talking about my very favorite fragrances and what worked out for me and what I love about notes. And it's a little bit more difficult to talk about fragrances that I don't love or that didn't work out. So bear with me, just bear with me. I will do my best to articulate why I will not be adding these into my collection. This is partially why I have not done a declutter video yet, simply because I hate talking about fragrances that didn't work. So I will do that soon and let you guys know the fragrances that I'm not crazy about. And today I'm hoping that going through some of these vanillas, talking about why they didn't work out, helps somebody else who has similar tastes and preferences to me and might help you understand if this fragrance works for you or makes you reconsider if you should sample it before you blind buy. So without further ado, let's get started. The first fragrance I'm going to talk about today is Orchidee Vanille by Van Cleef and Arpels. And this is a decant that I bought off of Fragrance Net. And let me tell you, this fragrance messed with my head. I had this sort of preconceived notion of what I thought this fragrance would be. And when I first got it, it was not that. I thought it would be sort of a basic vanilla, just a normal vanilla, and there is a whole lot more than just vanilla going on in this fragrance. And I had a hard time wrapping my head around that. Once I sort of changed my expectations, and I'm talking months after I had this fragrance, I did grow to like it. This is not just a basic vanilla, as I mentioned, and it's unlike a lot of other vanillas that I've played with or that I have in my collection. As I smell it a little bit more and push those expectations of just this pure vanilla fragrance aside, I do start to love it. As I mentioned before, there's mandarin orange, lychee, bitter almond in here, and I definitely pick up the bitterness that you get from that almond. There's dark chocolate in here, tonka bean, white musk that my nose is picking up, and vanilla orchid. Now, I get kind of a sweet, floral, cacao type feel from this, and again, I pick up the bitter almond and quite a bit of citrus here. This fragrance has grown on me as I've gotten to know it just a little bit more. I do have a fairly sizable decant here so I can continue to play with it. I like the fragrance, but in all reality, I think this is one that I wouldn't reach for as much of some of the other vanillas that I have in my collection. So for now, this decant will do, and I don't have the intent on moving forward with this fragrance in a full bottle. Now I know a ton of people love this fragrance. I'm interested to hear from you guys. Do you like this one? Did this one not work out for you? How does it compare with other vanillas that you have in your collection? Again, that's Orchidee Vanille by Van Cleef and Arpels. The next fragrance on my list is Angelique Noire by Guerlain. And what I get from this upon initial blast is this intense burst of sort of a green feel. And my sense is that is the Angelica that is in this fragrance. Angelica is described as musky, woody, rooty smell, and I definitely picked that up on the initial blast of this fragrance. I was curious, how is this so popular when I first smelled it? It was a little unusual to me and almost startling how much that greenness shines through. But I will say, as you wear this on the skin and as it sits on the tester strip, it does dissipate a little bit, that Angelica note, and it becomes more of a captivating scent. Guerlain does their vanillas extraordinarily well. I'm a huge fan of Spiritueuse Double Vanille, and this is another fragrance that I think is quite beautiful. There's this musky, vanillic aspect that really shines through here, and while I completely appreciate this scent and I recognize this is a gorgeous vanilla, I do have Eau Duelle in my collection, and I have a slight preference for this. Eau Duelle is by Diptique, and this fragrance has a more prominent vanilla accord in it, and it's slightly sweeter to my nose. It has just a little bit less of that greenness, at least as I interpret the scent profile. So when I compare Angelique Noire to Eau Duelle, I do have a preference of Eau Duelle at this point in time. Another thing I'd say is that Angelique Noire is not for everyone. If you're not a fan of that green note, you may not be crazy about this fragrance. I would say the same goes for Eau Duelle as well. This also has that heavy vanillic feel to it, but it has that green type scent profile there in the background. And if that's not for you, you definitely want to try these out before you buy them or you consider blind buying them. As I mentioned, I think Guerlain does vanillas with pure sophistication and elegance, and I do appreciate this scent. But in the near term, I do not have plans to add this to my collection simply because I have alternatives that I prefer a little bit more at this point. The next fragrance that I want to talk about is Joop Bain. And this is a fragrance that is very commonly hyped as a cheapy vanilla type fragrance. Now, I do think it is a nice scent. That being said, if you are a sweet gourmand lover such as myself and you have similar tastes and preferences to me, you may find yourself disappointed by this one. It is very inexpensive, so I think blind buying this comes with very little risk, but I will say this just didn't work out for me and didn't work out with my skin. When I go in to look at some of the reviews on this gets described as a soapy sweet vanilla, a bathroom air freshener, cherry pipe tobacco, and freshly washed baby. I actually agree with all of that commentary, all of those descriptions. I find them to be spot on. When you go look at the reviews for Joop Bain, they are really well written and they are a testament to exactly what you get with this fragrance. Now, I should have known reading all of that this fragrance probably wouldn't be for me. However, I do think that if this were in sort of a soap form, I might actually really appreciate the fragrance. It just doesn't work as a perfume for me, one that I do have in my collection, but I'm not sure I'll keep around for very long. That is Joop Bain. The next fragrance I want to touch on is Alien Essence Absolue. And when my fragrance journey started, this was incredibly hyped. There were a ton of people talking about this fragrance, and at this point in time, I don't think I could buy it even if I wanted to. Now, I will say this fragrance has grown on me quite a bit. I got this decant about a year, maybe a little bit more ago, and when I first smelled it, I didn't really understand it. I wasn't crazy about it, and it had a lot of that Alien foundation that I wasn't crazy about at the time. I have Alien on my skin right now. As time has gone on, I've grown a little bit of an appreciation for both of these fragrances. This is the Alien, so I have it on my skin here, and the Alien Essence Absolue has a powerful jasmine presence. This fragrance has orris root, incense, myrrh, amber, and I sort of feel like each one of those fragrance notes is detectable here. You can pick up on the vanilla in here, and while I didn't care for it too much at first, I can absolutely appreciate and recognize the hype and the madness that surrounds this fragrance. I'm curious, has a formal discontinuation been announced on this fragrance? It seems like that sent shockwaves through the fragrance community. So many people love this fragrance, and I'm so happy that I have this decant to get me through. I don't think that I would find myself reaching for Alien or Alien Essence Absolute on a regular basis, but the scent has grown on me over the past year, as I mentioned, and I may find myself reaching for it in the future. This is one that I've thought about decluttering, but I just don't think I could do it because I find the scent profile really alluring. I just don't think it fits my personality, if that makes sense. I just don't feel like when I wear this that it really fits me. Sometimes I feel like Alien wears me and I don't wear it. So that being said, this is Alien Essence Absolue, a gorgeous scent that I think a lot of people will appreciate and love. Just one I won't be bringing into my collection, mostly because it's discontinued, but also because I haven't figured out how to love that scent profile just yet. I do have other vanilla type fragrances that I would reach for over this one. Next up is Vanilla Woods by the Seven Virtues. And this fragrance is a testament to why I need to try fragrances, explore, experience fragrances before I judge them. So I got this also around last year in the summertime, and when I smelled it, I thought this is too close to Kayali Vanilla 28. I'm really not interested in bringing this into my collection. In fact, at the time I had thought explicitly that I prefer Vanilla 28 to this fragrance. I find this to be a warm, delicious, cozy vanilla fragrance, sort of like how I feel about Kayali Vanilla 28. And I stand by the fact that I think it is quite similar to Vanilla 28. Now I do see some differences. Vanilla 28 has that really addictive, prominent brown sugar accord in it, so that does set this apart from Vanilla Woods. I also think that Vanilla Woods has a more prominent woody type accord. Now I don't see any sort of woody notes here. There's pear, rose, vanilla, caramel, and amber, but the name suggests, Vanilla Woods by the Seven Virtues, that there is some sort of woody accord here, and my nose definitely picks up on woodiness. I also feel like you get a very beautiful vanilla in this fragrance. I'm curious if I would have sampled Vanilla Woods before I tried Kayali Vanilla 28, if I would have actually brought this into my collection and not brought in Kayali Vanilla 28. They are close enough to me to be considered redundant. I don't think that I would want to pull Vanilla Woods in as a full bottle because I do think they are so similar, or similar enough to my nose to not really need another bottle of perfume that is similar to this. But that being said, other people may be able to pull enough differences out of these two to consider having both in their collection. For me, Vanilla 28 will do for now, and I will not be bringing Vanilla Woods into my collection. The next fragrance that I have here is Sweet Vanilla by Montale. And I'm not even gonna spray it because this decant spilled all over my samples and I now have nothing left, but it made all of my samples smell quite lovely. Now, in this fragrance, there are only two notes listed. There is vanilla and apricot. Now, while it's not listed in the notes, again, vanilla and apricot are the only thing I see here, I do seem to be getting some sort of citrus accord. Now, I'm wondering if that's just the fruitiness that comes from the apricot. I like how the vanilla is done in this fragrance, and if you are somebody that really likes a note of apricot, I do think you should get your nose on this. For me, I didn't really care for it enough to feel compelled to buy a full bottle of this fragrance. I'm interested in exploring some of the other vanilla fragrances that Montale has. I've gotten my nose on maybe a couple of them, but this one is just not one that I will be buying at this point in time. Again, that is Sweet Vanilla by Montale. The next fragrance that I have here is Tihota by Indult. And let me just say, this is a beautiful, delicious vanilla. I know that, I accept that. I think it's lovely, and I have a very positive scent memory attached to this fragrance. I took this sample, which is now almost empty, to Grand Cayman back in February of 2020, before the pandemic had really ramped up in the United States. We went on an incredible vacation. I combined this with Coco Mademoiselle Intense almost every night when we went out, and I loved the mixture of the two fragrances. So I wore this quite frequently, and I adored it quite frequently. What I get from this fragrance is more than just vanilla. This is another one of those fragrances that is not only a vanilla scent that you're getting. I get some muskiness here, and I also get sort of a burnt sugar type vibe from it. it sort of makes me think of going to the fair. When you walk through the food section and you get a mix of all the flavors that are there, the cotton candy, and then there's funnel cakes, and you get that sweetness that blends together. This sort of reminds me of a very sophisticated version of what you'd smell at the fair or the carnival. And from that aspect, I think it is such a pretty fragrance. And while I do think this is a very pretty scent, and I absolutely recognize why so many people love it, I do have other vanillas in my collection that I find myself reaching for. Of all of the fragrances that I've talked about here, I do think this is probably at the top of the list or very close to it in those fragrances that if I did go back and reconsider my collection, I might pull in. So again, a good fragrance, just not one that I feel compelled to buy at the moment. That is Tihota by Indult. The last fragrance that I have here is LaVanilla by Pure Vanilla. And I just have a little tiny roller ball here that a really good friend of mine got me. And I'll say that this one didn't really work out for me. I find it to be too sickly sweet, a little too powdery for my taste. I wore it one day and I did feel like it became a little bit cloying on my skin. I am curious if it just doesn't work with my skin. It is a nice vanilla, and I think that's what a lot of the reviews state when you read through, that people looking for a pure vanilla or a vanilla-centric fragrance, they really do love this one. And I hate that this one didn't work out for me. I know that it is another one that is heavily liked and heavily adored, but just one that didn't work for me. Again, that fragrance is LaVanilla by Pure Vanilla. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you have a phenomenal weekend and you do something fun, or maybe not. Maybe you just get a relaxing weekend. Sometimes those are the best. If you enjoyed this video on vanillas that I won't be bringing into my collection or that I'm not crazy about, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I hope you guys have a lot to be grateful for, and until next time, I'll see you soon.